There's this moment where you pick up your phone, type the text, and then delete it, not because you don't want to reach out, but because reaching out first feels like asking to be rejected. If that's you, this video is for you. Welcome to Face Your Fears. I'm Adriana, a clinical hypnotherapist, and we are taking these small everyday fears like this and looking at what's actually underneath them. Because one of the things I talk about all of the time is that there can be a really big difference between what you consciously know and what some deeper part of you believes, where you can know logically that something is okay. You can know you want to do it. You can know there's technically nothing stopping you and still not do the thing. So in these episodes, I want to help you understand why. And then at the end, I'm going to walk you through a short guided visualization to help you start to actually practice a different belief. And today, I want to talk about reaching out first, because here is what's really happening under the surface. Maybe there's a friend that you haven't seen in a while and you keep thinking, oh, I should text her. Maybe you want to ask someone if they want to grab coffee. Maybe you've been thinking about someone a lot recently and you genuinely would like to reconnect. Maybe you even pull up their name in your phone and then you hesitate because suddenly something that should be incredibly simple all of a sudden feels like weirdly vulnerable. And now your mind is overthinking, like, well, what if they don't really want to hang out? What if I'm bothering them? What if they say that they're busy and then they don't suggest another day? What if I end up being the only one that ever reaches out? If they really wanted to see me, wouldn't they reach out first? And so then you end up spiraling and then not sending the text. Or you tell yourself you'll do it later, or you'll wait to see if they reach out first. And I think it's really easy to look at a moment like this and think that the problem is that you're overthinking a text. But I want you to look underneath the text, because you're probably not actually afraid of sending, hey, do you want to grab coffee this weekend? You're more than likely afraid of what could happen after you send the text. You're afraid of what their response could mean, because reaching out creates exposure. And as long as you don't ask, you don't have to find out. You don't have to find out if they're busy. You don't have to find out if they're less interested in the friendship than you are. You don't have to experience the weight of waiting 6 hours for them to respond while you wonder why they're taking so long. You don't have to risk feeling like you wanted more than they wanted you. And so somewhere along the way, your mind may have learned it's just safer for them to come to me. Because if they reach out first, then you already have proof. You know that they want to talk to you. You know that they want to see you. You know that you're not actually bothering them. You know that you're wanted before you have to risk wanting them. And that is the part I want you to notice, because this is where my 12%, 88% model comes in. I want you to think about your conscious mind, the part of your mind that is in charge of logic, reasoning, decision making, the ability to analyze, and willpower. That part of your mind is roughly 12% of your mind. And your subconscious, which is in charge of all of your other automated thoughts, actions, beliefs, and behaviors, is the other 88% of your mind. And the 12% of your mind can sit there all day long and say, this is ridiculous. Just send the text. She's my friend. I know she would answer. People are busy. I know that if they take too long, they're probably just doing something. It's not embarrassing to ask someone to hang out, right? Our conscious mind can know all of these things logically. You can know all of that. But if the other 88% of you has learned reaching out first means that I might be rejected, wanting someone more than they want me is embarrassing. If someone really likes me, I shouldn't have to ask. I need some proof that I'm wanted before I let myself reach. Then, of course, there's going to be resistance, because that deeper part of you isn't just responding to the text message. It's responding to what the text message represents. And that is why I care so much about the beliefs that are running underneath all of our moments. And that is why I care so much about the beliefs that are actually running underneath the surface. Because we spend so much time trying to change our behavior without getting curious about what belief is creating that behavior. We tell ourselves, just stop overthinking, just send the text. It's really not a big deal. Just be more confident. But your actions make a lot more sense when you understand what some part of you believes it's protecting you from. If I believe reaching out puts me at risk of finding out I'm unwanted, then yeah, waiting to send the text message makes sense. If I believe someone else reaching out first proves that I matter to them, then yeah, waiting makes sense. If I believe wanting connection without knowing whether it's going to be returned makes me vulnerable, then yeah, holding myself back makes sense. The behavior isn't random, it's coming from somewhere. But here's where this gets much bigger than just the text message, because self-abandonment isn't always some huge dramatic moment where you completely betray yourself. Most times, it's incredibly quiet. It's in the moments of wanting connection and then waiting for someone else to create it because something inside of you is hesitating to create it yourself. It's missing someone and then deciding you're not going to tell them. It's wanting to see someone and deciding you won't ask because you don't want to risk hearing no. It's having the impulse to reach towards something you want and then immediately saying, but do they want me? Am I welcome? Am I sure that I won't get rejected? And without even realizing it, you can start requiring other people to choose you before you give yourself permission to choose. And that is the part I really want you to think about, because when you don't send the text message, yes, you protect yourself from the possibility of rejection, but you also remove the possibility of connection. You don't have to find out that they don't want to hang out, but you also don't get to find out that they do want to hang out. You don't have to experience the vulnerability of saying, I want to see you, but you also aren't participating in creating the relationships you say you want. And little by little, fear starts deciding how much of yourself you're willing to put into your own life. And that is why this matters. Not because I think everybody needs to start texting everybody first. There are absolutely relationships where you might notice you are doing all of the reaching, and that's information worth paying attention to. I'm talking about the moments when you want to reach out and fear is the reason you don't. Because there is a difference between choosing not to reach out because something doesn't feel right and wanting connection but withholding yourself until someone else makes it safe for you to do. And I want you to start playing with a different belief. What if reaching out isn't asking someone else to choose you? What if reaching out is you choosing? I'm choosing to tell someone I miss them. I'm choosing to invite someone into my life. I'm choosing to create more connection. I'm choosing to be an active participant in relationships I want to have. And then you get to choose too. They can say yes. They can say no. They can be busy. They can want something different. Their response gives you information, but it doesn't get to decide whether you were allowed to want what you wanted in the first place. And I think there is so much freedom in becoming someone who doesn't need to know that she'll be chosen before she's willing to choose first. Because the goal isn't to become so confident that rejection could never hurt you. It's knowing that even if somebody doesn't respond the way you hoped, you can still stay with yourself through that. You don't have to abandon yourself in advance just so someone else never gets the chance to disappoint you. So that is what we're going to be practicing today. Not becoming fearless, not convincing yourself that everyone you reach for is going to reach back. We're going to practice what it feels like to want connection, to tolerate the vulnerability of reaching for it first, and to know I don't have to know that I'll be chosen before I allow myself to choose. And rather than just understanding that intellectually, I want to give you a chance to experience what that might actually feel like. So I'm going to walk you through a short guided visualization to do that. If you are driving, if you're walking somewhere, you need to pay attention, or if you're doing anything that requires your focus, you could come back to this part later. But if you're somewhere that you can safely close your eyes, go ahead, get yourself into a comfortable position. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to force yourself to relax. Just let yourself be here for a few moments. And just take a slow breath in. Let it go. And then another breath in. And as you breathe out, just allow yourself to shift out of trying to understand this and into experiencing it. And so I want you to imagine that you're standing inside a room, and somehow you know that this room belongs to you. Not just because your things are here, but because the whole room feels like you. Maybe there's music playing that you love. Maybe there's something cooking in the kitchen. Maybe the windows are open. Maybe there's a couch you'd happily spend an entire Sunday on. You don't need to see every detail perfectly. Just notice what it feels like to be somewhere that is unmistakably yours. This room is your life. And as you look around, you start to notice how much is already here. Things you've built, things you've chosen, things you care about, memories, interests, little pieces of yourself everywhere. And then you notice something else. There's a window near the front of the room, and for a long time, you've spent a lot of time near that window. Looking outside, listening for footsteps, waiting for a knock at the door. Because when someone knocks first, there's no question. You know that they want to be there. You don't have to wonder if you're bothering them. You don't have to wonder if they really want to see you. You don't have to risk offering something that isn't returned. They came to you. And there has been something very safe about that. So maybe some part of you learned, just wait. If they want you, they'll come. If they miss you, they'll reach out. If they care, they'll make the first move. And you can understand why that part of you liked the window. The window gave you protection. You never had to risk knocking on a door that didn't open. You never had to hold out your hand without knowing whether another hand would meet it. You never had to say, "I'd like you here," without already knowing the answer. And you don't need to be angry at yourself for that. You were trying to protect something tender. Your desire. Your hope. Your very human wish to be wanted. But now, I want you to turn away from the window for a moment, because sitting on a table behind you are a few envelopes, invitations. And somehow, you know exactly who they're for. Maybe one has the name of someone you've been meaning to text, someone you've thought about a lot lately, someone you genuinely like to see. Maybe another represents a friendship you'd like to deepen, another person you'd like to know better, a relationship you'd like to put a little bit more of yourself into. And as you look at those invitations, notice something. They've been sitting here, not because you don't care, but because you do. Because sending one means admitting, "I'd like to see you. I thought of you. I want more of this." And maybe you've learned to treat those sentences like they're dangerous, as though wanting something puts you beneath the person you want it from, as though reaching first gives something away, as though the person who cares less somehow has more power. But look around this room. Nothing about this room becomes less beautiful because you want someone to share it with. Your desire for connection doesn't take anything away from you. Wanting does not make you needy. Reaching does not make you less valuable. And an invitation is not a plea. An invitation simply says, "I'd like you here." That is all. An invitation doesn't say, "Please prove I'm worth showing up for." It doesn't say, "Your answer will tell me whether I matter." It doesn't say, "I need you to choose me so I can feel okay." An invitation simply says, "I'd like you here." And the person receiving it is allowed to decide what they want to do with the invitation, just as you are allowed to decide who you want to invite. You choose, and they choose. Two whole people. No chasing, no convincing, no audition, just choice meeting choice. So you pick up one of those envelopes, you feel it in your hands, and you notice if there's still a little vulnerability there. There can be. You don't have to get rid of it. Courage was never the absence of that little feeling. You can feel exposed and still remain fully yourself. You can want and still belong to yourself. You can reach without leaving yourself behind. And when you're ready, imagine sending that invitation on its way. And then notice what your old instinct might want to do. Maybe it wants to follow it, to watch where it goes, to stand outside the other person's door and study their face as they open it, to wonder what they're thinking, to check whether you've made a mistake, to put your entire sense of worth inside that little envelope and send it away with your invitation. But you don't have to do that anymore. The invitation can leave. You can stay. You don't follow it down the road. You don't have to chase after it. You don't have to stand outside someone else's house waiting for their answer. You turn around and you walk back into your room, back into your life, back into yourself. And maybe that's the part you've been missing. Reaching toward another person does not require you to leave yourself. You can send the text and put your phone down. You can ask someone to coffee and continue with your afternoon. You can say, "I miss you," without needing their response to make it okay that you did. You can let someone know that you'd like them in your life without handing them the power to decide the value of your life. Because their answer is information. It tells you something about them, their availability, their capacity, their interest, their life. Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe it's no. Maybe it's not right now. Maybe you discover that the connection isn't as mutual as you hoped it was. And yes, that might hurt. We're not pretending it wouldn't. But disappointment is something you can meet. Rejection is something you can survive. What you no longer need to do is reject yourself first just to make sure nobody else gets the chance. You don't have to say no to yourself on someone else's behalf. You don't have to close the door before you've even offered the invitation. You don't have to make your life smaller so that nothing can disappoint you inside of it. Look around this room. This is your life too. You are not just someone waiting to see who chooses you. You are someone who chooses. Someone who notices, "I like this person. I miss this friend. I'd love to see them. I want more connection in my life." And lets that information matter. Because your wants are information too. Your desires are allowed to move you. And every time you let yourself act on what you genuinely want instead of immediately checking whether it's guaranteed to be returned, you're practicing something much bigger than sending a text. You're practicing staying on your own side. You're practicing participating in your own life. You're learning that you don't need to abandon what you want just because someone else may not want the same thing. And you don't need to become someone who never cares about the answer. Of course you care. Connection matters to you. People matter to you. Being wanted feels good. You're allowed to hope they say yes. You're allowed to feel excited when they do. You're allowed to feel disappointed when they don't. But you are becoming someone who knows that none of those answers change the courage it took to say, "This is what I want." Because you don't have to know that you'll be chosen before you allow yourself to choose. You don't need proof that you're wanted before you're allowed to want. You don't need certainty before you participate. You don't have to spend your life standing at the window, waiting for other people to knock while your own invitations sit unopened on the table behind you. This is your room. This is your table. This is your life, and you are allowed to fill it. You are allowed to reach. You are allowed to invite. You are allowed to say, I thought of you. I miss you. I'd love to see you. You are allowed to let your love move, to let your interest move, to let your desire for friendship and community and connection actually have somewhere to go. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to chase any of it. You can extend your hand without losing your footing. You can open your heart without handing it over. You can send the invitation and remain right here, whole, grounded, still yours. Because you are no longer waiting for someone else's choice to give you permission to make your own. You choose. They choose. And whatever comes back, you stay with you. So you take one more look around this room that is yours, this room that is your life, and maybe notice those invitations differently now. Not as little opportunities to be rejected, but as little opportunities to participate, to create, to reach toward the people and experiences that make a life feel full. And when you notice yourself standing at that window again, waiting for proof that you're wanted, you can and you will remember you have invitations too. You have choices too. You have a life that you are allowed to help create. So take one slow breath in and let it go. And whenever you're ready, gently bring your attention back to where you are and carry this with you. Send the invitation. Come home to yourself. And whenever you're ready, you can start to bring your attention back to the room you're in. Starting to bring your attention back to your body, starting to get feeling back into your shoulders, your belly, your hips, your thighs. Maybe moving your hands a little bit, moving your feet. And then taking one nice full breath in. And when it feels good, allow your eyes to open and just give yourself a few moments to come back. And before you move on with your day, I just want to give you one last tiny challenge. Think about the person who came to mind while you were listening to this. Think about the person you've been meaning to text. Think about the friend that's been on your mind. Think about the person you've been wanting to make plans with, the person you've thought about reaching out to, but you've been waiting for some kind of proof that they want to hear from you first. If reaching out genuinely feels like something you want to do, send the text. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to find the exact right thing to say. You don't have to explain why it's taken you so long to reach out. You don't have to make it a new level of casual so that way no one knows that you care. Just let yourself reach and then practice the other half of what we just did. Put the phone down. Go make your coffee. Go walk your dog. Go finish whatever you were doing before watching this episode. Let the invitation leave without you leaving yourself with it. Because that is what I want these Face Your Fear episodes to be about. Not getting rid of every fear before you live your life, but noticing the small places where fear has quietly been making decisions for you and giving yourself a chance to make a different one. Because these tiny moments matter. The text you don't send, the thing you don't say, the invitation you don't make, the question you don't ask, the opportunity you don't go out for. A life can get smaller, one tiny fear-based decision at a time, but it can also get bigger in the exact same way. One small moment where you decide, I'm kind of scared and I'm still going to choose. So if there is an invitation you've been holding on to, make today the day you send it. Come back, let me know how it goes. And if you want to keep doing this with me, subscribe to the podcast or here on YouTube so that way you don't miss the next Face Your Fears episode. And little by little, you stop building your life around what you're afraid of and start building it around what you actually want. So I'll see you in the next episode.